could, just give us a little bit of update on your background, the areas of law that you practice. This is, Judge Parsons is hoping that this person will begin and perhaps even want to stay in dependency.
Okay.
What your feelings are about that area.
Absolutely. Okay. Good morning. My name, as you said, is David Gillespie. I'm a 16-year attorney, and let me begin by telling you a little bit about why I'd like to be on the bench, so to speak. I think I possess many of the qualities, actually, that make a good judge, and some of those qualities are judgment, initially. I think all judges that are good judges are those judges that exercise just good common sense and judgment, and that is judgment that is brought and gathered from many different places, including 20 years of marriage that I've had, raising 2 children, and being active in the community and dealing with many people out there in the community. I think not only do you need to exercise judgment, but you also need to be able to make those hard decisions, those difficult decisions that may not be the popular decision, and I feel I have the ability to make those decisions. Moreover, I think a good judge, frankly, knows the rules of evidence. I think, I've been a trial lawyer for 16 years. I've done numerous jury trials. I'm familiar with the rules of evidence, and I think I'll be able to fit right in that regard. And finally, I think I have the ability really to connect with people, and hopefully some of the people that have contacted the committee will have echoed this, that I have the ability to connect with people and make sure that the playing field is level for all the litigants that come before me, both the parties and the various litigants. I've been fortunate to have traveled pretty much throughout Central Florida and other parts of the state, trying cases, being in front of various judges all over the state. I've seen many great judges and some judges that have some challenges. And I think that I've been able to draw from those and hopefully take the best of those and really do what needs to be done to make sure that the people that come before me, both the litigants and the parties, feel that there's a even playing field in which everybody has the ability to have their side heard and fairly heard in that regard. I have, as Mr. Lambert indicated, I've spent probably 14 of the 16 years in public service through being a prosecutor with both the state attorney's office as well as most recently through the Attorney General's office. For those of you that are not familiar with that, the Attorney General has about 28 prosecutors that are spread throughout the state, and we have jurisdiction to try crimes anywhere within the state, and our focus is basically to try those crimes that are multi-circuit in nature, that is, crimes that affect more than one judicial circuit, and there are organized groups of people committing crimes, something that where the local state attorney's office would only be able to prosecute a portion of the crime. Our idea is that we can come in, look at the big total picture, and prosecute the whole organization if that organization is spread from Miami to Tallahassee and pretty much every place in between. I have spent 2 years out on my own running a small firm. In that time, I did a lot of family law cases. I also did guardian ad litem work in dependency court during that 2-year period of time. I would like to continue to do the guardian ad litem work, but I'm prohibited from the Attorney General's office from taking any action that might be perceived as something contrary to the interests of the state when the state is a party. So therefore, I'm precluded from actually doing the guardian ad litem work, but I certainly did it for the 2-year period of time in which I was out. Although the 2-year period of time of doing family law, injunctions, all that type of thing may seem insignificant in the big scope of things, I can assure you it wasn't insignificant to the various clients that I had during that 2-year period of time and that I represented zealously. I will tell you that if I was sitting in your position, one of the concerns I would have is that someone that's well-rounded and someone that has had exposure to various parts of the law. I will tell you though, I think in our evolving jurisprudence that we don't have the luxury, frankly, of having a whole lot of general practitioners anymore. I think the various fields of the law often become specialized, and as a result, we as attorneys often become specialized and focus on in certain areas of the law where we can really display an expertise. In that particular circumstance, I will say, though, I don't think that precludes someone from actually having being a great jurist. If you look at the people that are currently on the bench, I think if you look at Judge Parsons, Judge Will, Judge Marriott, Judge Walsh, Judge Hudson, Judge Rowe, all 6 of those individuals came to the bench with 0 criminal experience, and yet they've adapted very well and are great jurists, and we're very fortunate in this circuit to have those great jurists. So I would ask for the same consideration that the various people that supported those judges saw in them when they put them on the bench, that is the ability to exercise good judgment, follow the rules of evidence, and I think it'll make me a good judge, and I'd ask for your support in that regard.
David, before the questions come, I want to thank you. You were the first person that did the new application form.
Oh.
And we're trying to speed up the process and
Yes,
do a
sir.
better job. And that's in the new form, we hope it's going to be helpful to all of us. But I know that it was a sacrifice for you to...
Well, and aside from the sacrifice, I felt like I was shortchanging you only because as I was going through the form, and I wanted to apologize for that, I noticed that some of the responses in the little fields got cut off, and so as you print out the form, you don't see the whole response. And so I hope you weren't offended that half of the response was cut off, and so I was...
No, you're helping us.
Okay, well, very good.
But my question is this, and I struggled with this, so I'm asking you to educate me. Some of the attorneys that work for the government, whether they're magistrates or they're prosecutors or even some defense people working for the government, don't do any pro bono work. And you've indicated that you're with the Attorney General and you can't take clients in that. But then I see you went out, and I want to commend you for this, that you're doing keen court, you're finding ways, okay?
Absolutely.
So it must be important to you. And we don't understand, or I don't understand, how some attorneys find a way and others don't. And then the other thing is, looking at the rules of ethics, I think that attorneys can make a contribution to those that do it if they don't want to do it. Give us your thoughts about this.
No, I agree, and I guess to each person, that's a personal choice that they make. I've never, although I am precluded from actually practicing law in a pro bono type area, I think there are various ways that you can contribute back and give back, even as a government lawyer, and so I've always found that to be important. So I've always contributed it, whether it is through a teen court or through some other various activities, law day presentations, and frankly, even stuff unconnected to necessarily the practice of law through a church. We did something called food rescue, where we went around late at night to various restaurants gathering food that they were going to discard and take it down to a homeless shelter in downtown Orlando, and we would do that every month. There's various ways that you can give back, and as the father of 2 children, I think it's important to instill upon them that they are not just passing through, that they also need to contribute and give back, and so we try to include them in the various other activities that we can. Obviously, they're still a little young to actually take them to teen court perhaps, but a lot of the other various volunteering work that we do, we try to include them. So I think it's important for not just attorneys, but for people in general to do something to make meaningful contributions, to give back, and to help those that are in need.
When you're a judge, would you continue in that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Hey, David, I see that you're on the 18th
Yes, sir.
JDC. What do you look for? What is your first priority when you're vetting someone?
Well, I can tell you, since we've had a pretty stable bench over there within the past year, we haven't actually had any positions come available within the past year. But I think really those are the same qualities I talked about earlier. I think something that's very important in my mind is the ability to be predictable. I think litigants and parties that come in front of a judge need to be able to have predictability. That's how the whole system works. Otherwise, they don't know how to advise their clients and how to approach matters. So I think predictability is important, and I think it's important that a judge take on the role of someone that follows the law, whether they like it or not. The law is set there, and certainly at trial court level, I don't think it's the judge's position to be making new law or to do things in that regard. So, number one, I would say that I look for a judge that exercises judgment, that can make those decisions that we've talked about, and that knows the rules of evidence. I think those are the most important things that, in my mind, what to look for in a judge, and so that's what I try to do when we, ever meet that kind of thing.
David, you mentioned in your application, near and dear to my heart, that you would see what, you were aware of the situation that private attorneys need to make a living, and that their time is valuable, and that you want to protect their time and coordinate things, and I just know this last week, Mike and I and a couple other lawyers I waited 3 hours just to tell the judge I'm ready for trial, and he put me last on the list because I was going to say that. And the next attorney just wanted a motion for continuance, and he went through a complete dialogue for 3 hours while we sat there. You've seen a lot of courtrooms, and you've seen the jury box filled with lawyers, 30 or 40 of them waiting to be heard in court. What would you do as a judge to prevent that type of situation?
Well, I think there's many things you can do. I have, as many of you have been, I've been in front of those judges that will run down a docket of 300 cases starting alphabetically and go from the beginning to the end. And frankly, I don't think that really serves